This is going to be a pretty involved lesson in curve casting. Curve casting, you can do there's different ways of doing it, and you may even find somebody who teaches it differently than I do. I'll just show you the way I do it. We're going to start with curve cast to the left. And for right-handed casters, those are going to be the easiest curve cast for the most part. For a left-handed caster, I'll try to demonstrate in slow motion the hand movements and just close-up of the hand movements, so you can try to work them to the right, because that's going to be your easiest cast, or to the right. So let's go the first one. The easiest curve cast for a right-handed caster is one to the left. And what you're going to do, and we're going to zoom in just a second to show you the motion, but you're going to make a side-armed or horizontal cast and then stop hard. And when you stop hard, we're going to show you what this does. So you're going to stop hard. That's the simplest movement. So now if the camera will just zoom down and show you what just happened. So all of the curves to the left are going to look like this, and we'll try to zoom in and show you all of them, but you can see the relationship, and we'll use the same cast both times, so it won't be like we're doctoring the casts. So let's review what just caused that. Here, and then a hard stop. By the way, all of these can be exaggerated more by a shorter leader, a heavier fly. In my case, I've got an 8-foot leader and a piece of yarn and a 10-foot long front taper. By cutting off some of the front taper, or a heavier tippet, or a shorter tippet, or a shorter leader, and a heavier fly, all that could be exaggerated. So this is requiring me to make pretty good hard stops in all of these cases. The secret to curve casting, other than the motion, is a hard stop. So here we are. You're here, here, and then a hard stop right there. So just watch this in full speed. You can see how hard that is. That rod, boom, it stops hard. Now, to get more of a curve, watch my hand. You're here, and you twist your reel up. So sideways, it's going to look like this. Full speed, it's going to look like this. It makes a really hard, it exaggerates the turn. One more thing you can do, you can pull back. So you're here. You can do that. Now watch what I'm doing. Hit it, crank, come up, and make a backward C. So it's here. And that'll make a really hard turn. So for a left-handed caster, let's just review those. For a left-handed caster, the basic cast is here with a hard stop. Hard stop right there. The turn is here and then up. So this rod goes from facing your opposite side to facing your nose. So that's what you're doing. Now if you want to pull back, you come to here, you do this, and you pull back. So you're doing this and then this. So those are the basic curves. I'm just going to do the whole cast. You can see it from a distance, and then we're going to just pan the camera down so you can see the result on the grass. So if you can see here, I'll use this little stick. The line comes straight, makes pretty much a right angle turn. It's a little bit of a curve here, and it goes all the way straight, the leader's straight, and the yarn is about here. So the yarn is almost even with the curve. So that's almost a right angle curve. So when you make a right angle curve like this, you can get under bushes to the side, you can get under docks, you can do a whole lot of things with this. You can compensate for currents. I do this a lot when I'm streamer fishing and I want to get my streamer down. I'll hit a curve cast, because if I hit that curve cast, let's say my river's coming this way, I'll cast up across from me with a curve cast. Now the line's being pulled, but the fly is sinking. So by the time the line catches up with the fly, I can start stripping at a much greater depth. Well, let's say you can't make a curve, you're a right-handed caster, you can't make a curve cast to the left, or you're a right-handed cast and you can't go sidearm because you've got a tree back here, you got a bunch of bushes, you got a low bank. You can't do that, but you still need to make a curve cast to your left, or in the case of a left-handed caster, you want to make that curve cast to the right, but you can't swing your rod over here. So now you're going to have to do it over your head. So let's show you how you can do one over your head. So I'm just going to do this kind of slow motion and explain each step at a time. And then I'm going to do it full speed while the camera is doing it slow motion. And then we'll do it full speed and you're going to get the same curve we just got. So here we are. I'm going to aim I'm false casting in the direction of my target more or less. Then what I'm going to do is I come around, and as I come around, as I come back, instead of coming straight back, what I do is I swing my rod around. Swing my rod towards my target. So I'm making casts, swing my rod in the direction of my target, swing it all the way around, and then swing it so my rod is doing this. It's doing a circle. And then when it gets to here, what it does is poof, I do the same thing I did before. I rotate my wrist so the reel comes up, just like it did before. So I'm here. That's the motion. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and slow the camera down, and we're going to do this slow motion. So now we've got this is my rod straight back here. I've got almost a right angle. It's not quite a right angle. It veers off and my fly is over there to your right and almost a straight line. So I've created the same exact curve to the left by just swinging my rod around in a circle, just like this. So now we're going to try to do a curve cast to the right, and those are more difficult. So I'm a right-handed caster and I want a curve cast. A cast goes to the right. There's 3 different ways I can do it, and we're going to show you all of them. The same thing for a curve cast to the left for a left-handed caster. So let's just show you. The first one is just an off shoulder here. You're just doing the same thing you just did over here. Overpowered curve cast, you're just pounding it and stopping hard and making a curve. Here you're going to do the same thing. Just stopping hard and making a curve. If you want to accent that a little bit, you can come up and do this. So you can still move your hand. Or you can still make a pullback. But just this is what you want to do. You could also, of course, if you're pretty ambidextrous, you could just turn around and do it left-handed if you want to make one to the right. So that's fine. If you want to make one to the right and you're a right-handed caster, same thing if you're a left-handed caster, you can turn around and do it this way. Either way is fine. So that's exactly the same thing as we did before. Now let's talk about trying to make a cast to the casting arm side overhand. This one's pretty easy, and you're going to get the same curve we got before. I'm not going to show you this, but it's right angle. It's just like the previous ones, except it's the other side. Now we want to go over that way. Now what we've got to do, let me get the line here so it doesn't flop around. What we have to do is this. Stop, bring the rod towards where we're going to go, circle, come around and hit it. So it's a stop, around, circle, and hit it. Stop, just like that. So let's do one full speed and then we'll slow down and do one slow motion. You can see the whole thing slow motion. So here we are. False cast. There we go. So here we have the same thing. The rod is down there. We've got a straight line pretty much. We have almost a right angle curve. Now I've got about a 5-mile-an-hour wind coming from my right, your left. And so my yarn didn't quite straighten out, but it came pretty close. So if you look at this, I still made an awfully dramatic curve to the right. So my yarn is here, even though my leader is here. So actually it didn't quite straighten out. I've got about 2 feet of yarn that came back. because of that wind. But still, you can see the dramatic nature of that curve. There's one more cast that you can make, and I don't use it a lot because it's hard to predict exactly where it's going to land, especially if it's windy. If it's windy, I use the cast we just showed you a lot more. I'll do this cast almost every time if it's windy, because I can make a perfectly right angle turn and it's got enough power that it can overcome wind. But there is another one, and this is called the underpowered curve cast. And I use this, quite a bit, especially if super accuracy is not important and there's not a lot of wind. In the underpowered curve cast, we're not counting on force to turn the leader over. We're just counting on, and the line, we're counting on the movement of the rod. So what we're going to do is this. We'll do this motion first, and then I'll do it, and we can see the results. I'm going to make and by the way, people teach this differently. So this is the way I teach it. It's a more vertical cast. A lot of people teach the same thing kind of side-armed. I don't do that because it creates what we call a J. We'll show you that in a minute. But here, what I do is I aim my casting towards my target. On my last false cast, I move my rod back away from my target and turn my wrist. So it's this. So watch this in full speed, in full motion. Now, take a look and see what just happened. So now you can see this is pretty, it's still a right angle more or less, but it's got a lot of curves in it. Now that wind just picked up to 8 or 9 miles an hour, and that had something to do with it. I mean, I could keep working at it and make a better one, but I still have a right angle curve to the right. It's just that slow motion. We're gonna do it one more time and do it in slow motion so you can see exactly what my hands are doing. So this is a better curve to the right, obviously. It's still got a pretty right angle. The line is straighter, but my leader still collapsed a little bit. As a matter of fact, I think I might have lowered my rod a little early because of the wind. And so my fly is way back here. This is what we call the J. If you tend to do this a little more side-armed, which I just did because of the wind, what you end up with is this. It's a J shape. And obviously your fly isn't at right angles to your original line. So mine just now was out here a little bit, still kind of a J. And that's one reason that I really particularly don't like this cast. It's very difficult to get it totally accurate, to have it land where you want to land it in the configuration that you want to have land. And again, if you've got a wind coming into this side, it's really tough. Whereas with the other one, man, even if a wind's coming to this side, because I'm driving into the wind, I can straighten it out. So those are the curve casts. I hope they help. It's a matter of just learning them, and I would say this: if you're going to learn curve casts, you need to get your hand first. Just do your hand. Just do your hand until you can do it with your hand. Then take a ruler or a noodle, do it with a ruler and a noodle. Then do it with a rod without a line on it, and finally put a line on it. Because I'm telling you, it is really tough to learn these by just grabbing a rod. There's too many distractions. The balance of the rod, the line moving around, the wind, whatever, is just distracting. The fastest way to learn any cast, in my view, is to pantomime first until it's absolutely ingrained in your muscles, and then you can learn to do it with a rod.